And welcome to the Aaron Katsman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katsman. We speak to you about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you for the spiritual and soon to be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you find this content interesting, please hit the like button below. If you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you think somebody might find this of interest, feel free to hit the share button below as well. So, the Americans joined in and bombed the living daylights out of the Iranian nuclear facilities. So we have been told. This comes on the heels of 7 days of, or a week or so, a little bit more of a week, um, of Israel surprise attack on Iran and then continuing bombardment of ballistic missile and nuclear facilities. I'm not giving a news update. What I would like to speak about is the impact that's going to have on the Israeli financial markets. Everybody's pessimistic. They always are pessimistic. I know people, all these, and I've gotten 2 calls in the last week from people that I knew saying that their insurance salesman told them they should take their pension money and link it to the S&P 500 in the United States and abandon the Israeli market. So I laughed and I said, yeah, that was a trend about a year and a half or 2 years ago. Everybody started to do that. And I knew then that the local market, I could have put money on it. The local market would have then outperformed the S&P 500, which is actually what happened, believe it or not. People don't believe that, but that's what actually happened. There is no need to do that. I'm not against having money in America. That's what I do for a living, right? But if you're working and living in Israel and your pension money is in Israel, I see no reason to move it. What you may want to do, right? This is something that I came across and I thought it was criminal, of the pension person. It was probably more like an insurance salesman. Because they said, oh, you got to, look, you've only made 3.5% per year over the last however many years, and the S&P 500 is down 11%. I said, wait a second. I said, what kind of investment track do you have on your pension? And he said, well, it's very conservative, up to 25% stocks or something like that. I'm like, do you realize the S&P 500 is 100% in stocks? So they are showing you, instead of comparing apples to apples, they're comparing like fruit to vegetables. It's not even in the same planet. So they're showing these amazing returns, but they're not showing you the type of asset allocation that you may have had. Now, they also did you a disservice back then when they sold you an initial policy, right, which had a really, really conservative approach for retirement money, right? That was sort of a stupid thing to do decades ago, but okay, the past is past. So my advice was to them was you don't have to necessarily link your money to the S&P 500, just have to change your investment track to make it a little bit more growth oriented, a lot more growth oriented because it's pension money. So that's tidbit number one. Now, what I actually think, and you have to do your own research, I'm not giving any investment advice, but I think that what we're going to see is Israel is on the verge of an economic boom like we have not seen. It's going to be like a bonanza in Israel. And it probably pays for many of you to think about Israel as an investment destination. Again, do your own homework, and past performance is no indication of future returns, all that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you why. Okay. Israel's financial situation has an economy has weathered a year and a half long war. Before that, a year-long judicial change, we'll call it judicial reform, protests, and we're coming out of it in very, very good economic shape. Yeah, okay, so the debt to GDP and all these kinds of ratios are not where we want them to be, but for crying out loud, we've been in a war on 7 fronts. So it's not going to all be hunky-dory. But what we've seen during this time, which is very, very interesting, is through all of this, the currency, the Israeli shekel, has strengthened. Go figure, has strengthened and continues to strengthen against the most major currencies in the world, including the US dollar. As I've said multiple times, right? A strong currency is an indication of a very strong country. That's number one. Number two, huge amounts of pent-up demand, plus at some point, this is all going to end, right? The war on 7 fronts, probably sooner rather than later, which means that you're going to have Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of fighters come back and re-enter the economy who've been working, right? Small businesses are going to start picking up. And people who really didn't have a head for making big purchases. I mean, nobody has a head here to do anything. Trust me, because they've been so immersed in the perils of war that they haven't really thought about buying that new couch, right? It can wait a little bit. But all those things now, that pent-up demand is going to hit the market, and you're going to see huge increases in consumer spending. That's going to be good. You're going to see tourism pick up, right? There's been almost no tourism to talk about here for a year and a half. And I fully expect foreigners, once everything was done, then all the foreign airlines are going to come back, and you're going to start seeing a surge in tourism or tourism aligned businesses. And then maybe the biggest driver for the future, and that's going to be, I don't know what we're up to, but we'll call it sort of like Israeli tech 3.0. I don't know what number 0.0 we're up to, but we've seen, and I've said this again many times, generally after each Israeli military skirmish, we'll say, new technologies which were launched for the military ended up afterwards setting the stage for the new Israeli high-tech scene to move forward, because those technologies then started to get into the Israeli startup mentality, consumer with let's say consumer basis, right? So you have all these new technologies which were military, but now have all kinds of consumer applications, defense applications, and you're going to see a new wave of Israeli high tech based off of these new technologies which have been deployed during the last year and a half and in this war. I almost guarantee it. It's happened every other time. I don't want to guarantee. I can't guarantee, right? But if we learn anything from history, is this has happened. There's no question it's going to happen again, because the amazing technology which Israel has shown over the last 18 months, when everything ends, as I say, is for sure going to be the next generation of Israeli leadership in the tech world. So, jump on that as well. So in a nutshell, I'm incredibly optimistic about the upcoming few years of the Israeli economy. I know there are people who think I'm nuts, but I think that you're nuts if you don't see it. I mean, to me, it's obvious, right? All you have to really do to see it is look at the shekel, how strong the shekel is in the face of all of this. The shekel's held its ground remarkably and even appreciated. And I think, and also very, very quietly, the Israeli Stock Exchange, the leading indices are trading at record levels, near record levels. This is all a recipe, right? Then once the chains are unlocked, the Israeli economy is unlocked by war, you're just going to see a surge in what's going on here. This is going to be like a very, very hot spot to invest in, much like it's been, over the last 15 or 20 years. I think we're going to get back to that. I know that money flowing into Israel has slowed over the last 2 years, over the last 3 years, again, judicial reform plus the war. But I think that that's going to pick up. I really believe that's going to pick up. And the fact that economically Israel has weathered this and come out unbelievably well, I think is a testament to where Israel's up to economically, right? It's no longer an emerging economy. It's really a first world economy. It's been managed quite well. And I think that it's just going to be an incredibly rosy future. And for that, those of you who get your pension monies or whatever, you don't have to link to the S&P 500. Keep it locally in Israel. Again, I'm not against investing in abroad. That's what I do for a living, right? That's what I do. We work with clients who invest their portfolios in the United States. That's exactly what I do. But I don't think you should panic and pull out all of your money from Israel and send it abroad. I think it's a massive mistake if you go ahead and do that. One more thing. If you're interested, you have some interest in investing in Israel or whatever, feel free to shoot me a mail or email or whatever. Contact me and I can maybe help point you in the right direction. You've been tuning into the Aaron Katsman Show. We speak about your life, money, and your investments. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. If you've not yet done so, please hit the subscribe button for both the podcast and the YouTube channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll speak to you soon.